What is up, everybody? How are you doing? Tom with Pick and Fights Tom back here with Jamie Frodo. We're here on OTH MMA, the Overtime Heroics MMA side, the podcast. We're here to talk to you about UFC on ABC 3, Ortega versus Rodriguez, otherwise known as UFC Long Island, UFC Fight Night Long Island. If they could just get us a one name to call it, I would really, really appreciate it. Jamie, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I cannot wait for this card. I've been calling it Long Island. I think we kind of have to. There's so much MMA royalty up in that part of the world. You've got Sarah Longo, you've got Aljo Time. There's a lot of New York love in the MMA community, and I think it's crazy that after Billy Quarantillo fell off, we don't have any other New Yorkers on the card.
Yeah, right. And I mean, you had Darren Till fall off of the London card, but that is still, tried and true with people from UK. You got Patty, you got Meatball Molly, you got Aspinall still on the card. All the way through, you got that kind of that Homer feel. I don't know why.
My man Paul Craig.
Was that?
You got my man Paul Craig.
Paul Craig, yeah, of course, Scottish, right? Listen, I don't know why they decided to go and name it specifically UFC Long Island. Like, they didn't name it UFC Houston.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I guess they did do UFC Austin, but I mean, they just not having any of that native blood in there feels a little bit weird. But at the end of the day, it is a very good main card, with the exception of one, potentially two fights. But good card this week. Pretty solid card last week. Amazing card in 2 weeks. We're just in the thick of really good UFC, and I can't wait to talk about it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. The summer of violence is in full swing, and yeah, it is a bit weird that they don't have any, New York blood on the card, especially considering, they managed to pull Jack Shore away from his sheep in Wales and fly him all the way across the pond. Even though he's been over stateside for a while training with Sarah Longo. But yeah, I think, Jack Shore being on, putting his O on the line against Ricky Simone is a brave move, especially, in, I suppose, mostly anime territory. You might call it neutral, but I think I really think Jack Shore is going to provide a nice little sneak peek of UFC London next week. So,
well, no. Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring that up. And we talked about this before. You have Jack Shore, probably should have been on the UFC London card, but training out of Sarah Longo in Long Island in New York. He has a little bit of that New Yorker kind of blood in him, that DNA. And it's interesting that he's taking on Ricky Simone, a guy who a couple years ago by now, but he got that weird technical submission over Merab Dvalishvili. Not very many people can say that they have a win over that guy. Merab, obviously a big part of that Sarah Longo camp, training with Aljamain Sterling, and probably one of the next household names out of that camp. So it'll be interesting to see if Jack Shore or even Ricky Simone has a little bit extra juice coming into that fight. And we talked about this before. I think we're both on the Jack Shore train, taking him to win this weekend, but it is probably the closest and the most nervous I've ever felt about a Jack Shore pick. I mean, Jack Shore, we know he is an outstanding grappler. He's got some really good striking to boot, but grappling is definitely his bread and butter. But as far as the guy he's taking on here, Ricky Simone is not unfamiliar to grappling himself. He's got some really, really good knockouts. It's almost like Ricky Simone would say his bread and butter is probably striking, but is really good at grappling. Jack Shore is the exact opposite. Interesting to see how these two clashes. The one thing I will note, Ricky Simone is a really strong, he's got a really, really strong core, and that a lot of times lends itself to not being easy to take down. I think back to Rafael Fiziev against RDA. there was a point in the third round where RDA had got in so deep that his shoulder had hit the hip bone of Fiziev, and it looks like such a clean takedown. They make that initial connection. You can see where the bones meet, lift the head, dump him off to the side. It's almost a surefire takedown, except Fiziev was so strong, he was able to then lift up the arm and then reverse it. They both ended up face down on the canvas, and then he got back control in RDA. So I would be interested to see if we're going to see something similar with Jack Shore and Ricky Simón. What do you think?
Absolutely. I completely agree. They're almost like a yin and yang of each other. Obviously, Ricky has been on a pretty strong run, and as you said, he's got that technical choke over Merab. The two losses since then have been to Uriah Faber in 2019, which Uriah is a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't look great. But the other one then is obviously Rob Font, which is, you can never.
Rob Font was on his upswing, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's a loss of age.
Forgivable.
But yeah, I'm actually pretty confident in Jack Shore. I can't see Ricky having the longevity to go with him. I think, especially training with the Serra-Longo gym that have that experience, that intimate experience, 15 minutes with Ricky. I think Jack Shore is in a pretty good spot coming into it. And you just know that he's going to be giving it everything to give his, his countrymen and his friends in the UK that little bit of, I'm doing it for you guys.
Going into that week.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. And, I picked Jack Shore. I do think he's going to win. I don't want that to get convoluted. But I do also think that Ricky Simón is going to be a really tough test for him. And I think this is probably going to go to decision. And I think it's going to be a close one at that. I think Ricky's going to have some really good stand-up exchanges on the feet. And if Jack Shore has a bit of a troubled time getting him to the ground, I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility to me that Jack Shore may lose a 29-28 decision. Fantastic fight nonetheless. And I forgot how I was going to somehow tie that into Paddy Pimblett. I remember how. Because Jack Shore is constantly training. He may take, after a fight, a 1 day, 2 day, the weekend off, and then he's back in the gym training. This is actually his profession, and he does it. And, maybe to his credit, maybe to his discredit, maybe to the benefit of the octagon and the, whatever the opposite of the benefit is, a negative to his pocket. He's not that much of a personality outside the octagon the way like Darren Till or Paddy Pimblett is. But those guys, you see them outside of the octagon a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, a month following their fight, and they're going out there having hamburgers, they're on the beach, they're taking pictures, and it just doesn't lend itself to the mentality of someone who you see going very, very far in mixed martial arts. You got to stay ready, especially when you're not in the top 5. You got to stay ready because you can get a fight at any moment. You may not have a full camp. And if you want to be at the fan favorite and you want to be the peak, I mean, I guess that's not something that Paddy Pimblett has to really contend with, being a fan favorite. It's a home game everywhere he goes, especially with the association with Barstool. I'm really excited for the Ricky Simón fight because Jack Shore is constantly training, and I'm nervous previewing next week. I know we're previewing UFC on ABC3 Long Island and every other name that they have, but looking at slightly further ahead at UFC London, I am nervous about Paddy Pimblett, his outside the octagon shenanigans, and how that's going to lend him against a guy in Jordan Levitt who has some stand-up ability, has some really good submission ability on the ground, and is going to be really the first true test that Paddy Pimblett has had inside the octagon. And you were saying it before, Jordan Levitt, he likes to train his body, he likes to train his mind, reading 2 novels a month. 2 novels a week would be nuts. But yeah, I mean, it's talked about in martial arts, the yin and the yang and the balance of everything. I think that's going to lend itself to Jordan Levitt. And I'm probably going to take Paddy Pimblett as a bettor's pick. And I like to stay away from the value side of things, but I think I might take Jordan Levitt for the value. I think he's plus like 150 or something.
Yeah, that line is just, far, far too close for me to even entertain the idea of picking Jordan. He'd have to be plus 250 or plus 300
Yeah.
for me to even consider it. Patty's at home. Well, post
Yeah,
owners.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Patty's loss is to a guy who was really, really good at grappling and standing up. And I think Jordan Levitt maybe not as good, but still pretty solid. And I'm just concerned about the way that Patty's going to have he beefs up and then he has to get back down into fighting shape. I'm concerned about how that's going to lend itself into a 3-round bout because I don't think Jordan Levitt's going to get finished in the first round. I don't think Patty's going to get finished in the first round. I think ultimately then it turns of a fight that's going to go to the judges. And then maybe you can say that because it's in London, that gives a side to Paddy Pimblett. And you might be right, but I'm just never willing to let it go to the decision, go to the judges. And if you could win a decent amount of money, talking half of what you bet, 100% of what you bet, that might be something I'd be willing to throw a couple of dollars on just on the off chance and then put Paddy Pimblett in my parlays so that I'm kind of hedging everything.
Yeah. No, of course. That's what I'll be doing next week, but just not with
Not with your countryman.
Patty is going to steamroll him. Patty's, he's been posting on his Instagram. He's basically down to weight now already. He's got, another 12 days before the fight, or 11 before the fight. And he's already on weight. It's in front of his home crowd, and hasn't he been pumped to the co-main now that Till is out? So I remember
Action Man. I think Action Man's going to take it from Hermanson.
Okay, yeah, because I think whenever they originally said it, they had put Patty on the co-main, but he must be on the co-main.
Hey, listen, I don't hate that. But with his stardom. Especially it being in London, maybe somewhere else, I would say maybe not, but it being in London, I don't hate putting him as the co-main. Like that makes perfect sense to me actually, rather than having Jack Hermanson and having freaking Chris Curtis.
Yeah,
where's Jack Hermanson from?
He's from Sweden. He trains with Hamzat at All Star.
Okay. So. Okay. Yeah. So I guess he is a little closer, but he's not as close as Patty. Patty's it's Patty's backyard. So why would you not switch those two? It may have something to do with the contracts, but either way, everyone, if you've gotten this far into the video, 12 minutes in, thank you. Drop us a like if you like it. Give us a comment what you like to see, what you think of our picks so far, what you think of our picks that are here to come, and then don't forget to drop us a subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, notification bell, the whole nine. While we do that, let's hop into the first fight, one of the more lackluster fights on this main card. We got Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate. Both are mothers. Both are in the later stages of the career. Lauren Murphy, I think, is 37, 38, maybe even 39 years old. Miesha Tate, 36 or 37. Fun little fact about Lauren Murphy is she was a mother and then decided to start training MMA. So she not only is in later stages of her career, but started training MMA in the later stages of her life as it pertains to people who generally get to this level and start training. Personally, I think Lauren Murphy leaves a lot to be desired pretty much everywhere. Striking, grappling, clinch work, distance control. The only place she doesn't leave a lot to be desired is in the chest area. But regardless of that, I think Lauren Murphy and Miesha Tate is going to be a little bit of a flop. I'm going to go with Miesha Tate. I think she has the experience. She knows what she's doing on the ground. She has okay stand-up ability. I think she just beats Lauren Murphy any particular way. I don't see a finish. I see this one going to a 3-round decision, 30-27, Miesha Tate. What do you think?
I partially agree there. I honestly think Miesha is going to get the finish. I think that cutting down to 125, Brian Petrie mentioned it yesterday. He looks fantastic at 125. And obviously, her last fight, her comeback fight, who was it against? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I could pull it up, but Marion Renault, she was 44 years old.
Yeah, she also lost to Caitlin Vieira after that.
That fight she looked terrible in, though.
Yes, she did at 135. I think she's, made the proper adjustments. She's at a health. I think she's at her frame's proper weight. And I do agree that I think her experience and her lifestyle in fighting is going to give her a strong, strong edge against Lauren Murphy. I've probably got Miesha by second round finish. I'd be surprised if it sees the judges' scorecards, to be honest.
I mean, didn't Lauren Murphy end up getting finished in like the fourth round by
Yeah.
Shevchenko?
Yeah. I was there at that fight. Actually, I was lucky enough to be there.
Shevchenko was playing with her food. You're not going to get an argument from me with that. But
yeah, exactly. If Valentina had wanted to finish her earlier, she absolutely could have. What Valentina did to Jessica Andrade was a massacre. What she did to Lauren Murphy was like she was having fun with it.
Absolutely. No argument from me on that. But what I'm saying, if Lauren Murphy, whether Shevchenko is playing with her food or not, and Miesha Tate is no Shevchenko, I just think Lauren Murphy's going to have enough to be able to crawl to the finish line. So I think it's going to be judges. I think we're probably both pretty safe by taking Miesha Tate. To make that line a little sweeter, I would take it by decision. You would take it by second round finish. We'll see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, I also do think, just one last thing, that Miesha has been promised a shot at Valentina if she makes it past Lauren, which I think at this stage in her career, yeah, I know. But, I mean, who else is there at 125? Really? Is there anyone else?
No, and there's no one at there's really no one at like what is it? Amanda
145.
Yeah, 145. There's no one at that. So they have 4 women's divisions. 2 of them have no one in it.
Yeah. I actually, whenever I was doing my deep dive on the strawweight title lineage, 8 of the women's top 15 pound for pound are all 115 pounders.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
which is absurd. So,
and it makes sense why Dana doesn't want to pay what's her name from the PFL to come over, who fights at 155. Like, just sit over there and take your $1 million and be happy about it. There's no one for you to fight. You're the best in the world. You're the best woman. Like, there's nothing for you to prove. Congratulations. Like, you don't have to be in the UFC to prove it. Like,
yeah, congrats. You're a freak of nature, and
you beat everybody. There's no one for you to fight. Congratulations. Here's a crown. Collect your $1 million check every year.
Yeah, the only fight I really want to see Kayla Harrison in is against Cyborg. I don't see Amanda having anything for her.
It's going to be interesting to see Amanda come back now after that loss to Jessica and seeing like what her confidence looks like. If is she going to be able to come back and that doesn't shake her at all? And she's just like, I know who I am. I had a bad night, and then you're in for extra carnage, or does this shake her confidence? Not know who she is, and I mean, here's the thing: Nina Nunes is still bad, so.
Yeah.
Usually you can't have too good or too bad in the same household, whether it's siblings or a relationship. So, although I say that, and then what's her name? That Ortega's dating. She just got a win.
Yeah.
Does that mean I have to question Ortega's win?
Bit of a robbery.
Yeah. So, well, that's true. It was a robbery. Maybe she should have lost. I'll still stay firm in my Brian Ortega pick for later on this card. Before we get to that, let's get to Shane Burgos versus Charles Jourdain. I like this fight a lot, but not if I'm Charles Jourdain. I think he doesn't present anything that's going to be an issue for Shane Burgos. Shane Burgos has been in there with the likes of Edson Barboza, and you could say Edson Barboza knocked him out. I don't know if that's factually accurate. Shane Burgos is really weird. I mean, he's a Long Island guy. So here you go. Here's a Long Island guy fighting in front of his hometown crowd where most of the time guys, their body quits on them. Fighters, their body quits on them. Shane Burgos' brain gave up on him. Was like, hey, dude, we got to get out of this now. His body was still ready to go. So that was that really, really weird knockout where he hadn't gotten hit in like 3 or 4 seconds, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
just collapsed. Pretty scary. Glad that he's okay and he's healthy. I hope he got some type of brain scans and everyone gave him the thumbs up. But I just don't think Shane Burgos has trouble with his chin in the way that Jordan's going to be able to put him away. Jordan is very interesting. He throws kicks, but he doesn't put people away against the higher level competition. And Shane Burgos, I would put in that top tier level striker. I know he doesn't use a lot of his kicking, but he can use it. I don't see this one going to the ground, even though Jordan has that kind of attacking style submission ability. But I feel comfortable with Shane Burgos. Also, he's got the bigger stature and the bigger frame. I think he's going to be able to defend any takedowns that Charles Jourdain does attempt, and I don't think that's going to be many. And I think Shane Burgos is going to box him up. I don't know if Burgos puts him away though, so that's where I'm still not sure. But I think Shane Burgos is a pretty safe pick. What do you think?
I gotta disagree, man. I mean, okay. It's Shane Burgos.
Or what part?
I honestly think Jourdain's grappling is going to be the big difference in this fight. Jourdain has shown huge leaps recently, especially in his most recent win over Lando Venata. That was a one-armed guillotine that almost choked Lando Venata unconscious. I completely agree. You know, the Burgos is the bigger frame and he's got the better striking, but I don't know, man. I love Charles Jourdain. He's actually one of my favorite fighters, so I might be a little biased on that. His TikTok is hysterically funny.
Fair enough. I do like Charles Jourdain. I think he's a very fun fighter, and the emergence of his submission ability is definitely only going to add to his overall appeal. But I still don't think he has anything that's going to worry Shane Burgos.
I don't know, man. I mean, his Spartan kick against Andre Ewell, like, dead ass put him.
Andre Ewell and Shane Burgos are not in the same caliber of fighter. And
No,
being able to defend off really Quarantillo, and I know he lost to Josh Emmett, but I mean, he put up a very, very valiant effort, and I think Josh Emmett is a similar build. Charles Jourdain, I think he's just a little bit too small to have that type of success on the ground.
Maybe I might just be being entirely biased, but I have confidence in my man Eric Jourdain. So
well, here's the thing. Either way, it's going to be a good fight, and it's not like the fight previous to this where we're like, how is this snooze fest going to end?
Yeah, I mean the Murphy Tate fight, I celebrated whenever it was taken off the last interview, and now it's like it's opening this card, and I'm like,
yeah, I don't normally have to take pee breaks right as the card starts.
Yeah,
we could have bumped that back a little. So
yeah, it is what it is.
Speaking of good, wild fights and grapplers, we got Matthew Christopher Schnell versus Sumudaerji. I don't know why Matt Schnell decided to take every single syllable that existed, but thank God for Sumudaerji only having one name and kind of saving us on that. This is an interesting fight. I'll let you kick it off. What do you think?
Yeah, so I really don't have much of a read on this. I think it's a pretty weird stylistic matchup. You know, Schnell's got the grappling advantage, in my opinion, and Sumudaerji obviously has a pretty good striking advantage. But in terms of who has the edge overall in the fight, really can't call it. Obviously, Matt Schnell has lost his 3 of his last 4, but he's lost them to some absolute killers in Alexander Pantoja, Rogerio Bontorin, and Brandon Royval. And he's had 4 bouts with Alex Perez cancelled, which obviously sucks. But Sumudaerji is also on like a pretty nice win streak, but all his losses have been to submissions. So I don't know, man. It's hard for me to call. If you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say Matt Schnell gets dropped and throws up a miracle armbar. Otherwise, probably Sumudaerji by KO. I don't think Matt Schnell has the chin to go against. the phenom out of China.
Oh, it's interesting that you said China and you didn't say Tibet
Oh,
because he
well,
is the Tibetan Eagle. And I brought this up earlier. I'm really interested to see if they call him the Tibetan Eagle. UFC being on ABC, ABC being a Disney company, Disney wanting to appease China, China not recognizing Tibet. If you could follow that bit of web I just mapped out. Interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. Yeah, I know Sumudaerji has lost 2 submissions in the past, but I think Matt Schnell, his willingness to stand and bang is ultimately going to be his downfall here. I don't think he's going to come out and try to go for the takedown immediately. And if he does, I would think if I'm Sumudaerji, I'm going to be super wise to that. I'm going to be wise to the fact that this guy can't stand with me on the feet. He may try to, but he may also try to take me down, especially earlier on. I think Sumudaerji is going to be looking for that. He's also got insane fight IQ. I think one of the things watching the tape on him that stood out the most was his just intelligence and how he set up his strikes, how he put together combinations, how if he dropped somebody, he's not immediately rushing in trying to finish it, but he's going to be intelligent in how he approaches that. So throwing up that miracle armbar, I think is going to be a lot harder for Matt Schnell than Matt Schnell would like it to be. I think Sumudaerji is really, really good at his distance management, coming in, landing a couple punches, sliding out, and not being there for Matt Schnell to potentially take down, I think is going to be really good here. And you know, he sets good traps. He's got really, really good counters, good range control. He also, and here's the other thing too, and I wrote this down, of his last 4 fights, 4 fights, he's tried to be taken down 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Only was taken down 2 of those 10 times. So he's got some solid takedown defense if Schnell can get in deep on him too. So for all of those reasons, I feel confident with Sumudaerji. I don't think Schnell's going to be able to take him down. I don't think he's going to be able to hold him down and submit him if he can. Sumudaerji, power on the feet, advantage on the feet, striking, you name it. I just see this going to Sumudaerji.
yeah, I gotta agree. Almost certainly by finish. I don't think that Matt Schnell's chin is going to hold up.
Well, moving on to our next fight as we blaze the path here. Li Jingliang versus Muslim Salikov. The Leech in Li Jingliang. I just don't think he's going to get this one done. But this is a heavily debated, hotly contested fight. I could still be swayed, but I watched him tape here, and what I noticed is Li Jingliang fights his best moving forward. I know he's a counterpuncher, but when he's forced to fight off of his back foot, it makes that counterpunching a little bit more difficult for him. That's when he's gotten traditionally into his issues. I mean, Khamzat Chimaev rushed right in and took him right down. That's not something we're going to see from Muslim Salikov, but it just highlights the fact that off his back foot is not where Li Jingliang prefers to fight. Muslim Salikov, not the fastest fighter in the world. However, he is smart. He is very technical, and he uses his feet, that front leg, to keep that distance. And I think ultimately that's going to have Li Jingliang backing up. And if you're someone who's a counter puncher, it's really hard to counter punch against a guy with that kind of pseudo karate active front leg style. So I think Muslim Salikov is going to take this one 29-28 in a 3-round decision. What say you?
I gotta agree. I think Salikov, background, especially, with his Sambo experience and stuff, is certainly going to edge him out in this. We saw in the Chimaev fight that Li Jingliang's ground game and grappling is still leaving quite a bit to be desired. That being said, it has been, 9 months since Chimaev just, decimated the guy. And I gotta imagine that he's been working pretty hard on his takedown defense and his all around grappling. You bring up a good point about Salikov being at a speed disadvantage. Whenever Li Jingliang gets going, he gets going. He's phenomenal hand speed, phenomenal kicks. So I think if he comes out and he's aggressive and he pushes the pace a little bit, I think he might be able to clip Salikov. But man, a lot of these Russian guys. Is Salikov Salakov's from Dagestan, isn't he?
I think so, but here's the thing that I do know for sure is that he has 185 kickboxing wins, which is a staggering amount of just pure fights to be in, let alone have wins. So I think if Li Jingliang does try to rush in, it's not going to be some rush in. See what I did there? I don't think it's going to be something that Muslim Salikov is like 4-2.
Yeah.
See what I did there? I think it's something that he's going to know, and he's going to know how to deal with. And also at the same time, Li Jingliang has typically had issues as the fight progresses, and Muslim Salikov has a pretty good gas tank. So if Li Jingliang decides to rush in and doesn't get the job done right there, I'm thinking it just swings more into the Muslim Salikov, into his corner, if you will. So I'm going with Muslim Salikov. It sounds like you are too. I would put that as a 3 out of 5 confidence level. Where are you at?
I'd probably say I'm about the same. I think we're on the same page with that. I see it probably, the first round probably going to Jingliang, and then, I'd say I think Salikov probably, hip tosses him at some point in the second round, and the rest of the fight from there on is on the ground. I think if Salikov gets him down, it'll be an uphill battle from that point on for Jingliang.
And I don't think either of these guys has a particularly well-rounded ground game. I don't think that's something that they're going to go out there and fight with. So if Lee has been focusing on his ground game, that could be a large disadvantage considering the opponent he's taking on, number one. And the other thing, too, is Li Jingliang hunts and has a missile for a right hand, but I don't think he's going to be in close enough in order to touch Salikov with that. So for all those reasons, Muslim Salikov is the pick. Moving up to the co-main event of UFC on ABC 3 Fight Night Long Island. Easy for you to say. Michelle Waterson versus Amanda Lemos. I'll let you kick this one off. What do you think?
Yeah, so we got the karate hottie and Amanda Lemos.
This karate hottie. If you saw this picture of her at Christmas, she was getting into the cookies. She was definitely enjoying herself, and that's one thing I will say. I'm a little concerned about. And we talked about it before with Patty Pimlet. We talked about it with Darren Till. I'm a little bit nervous about the fighters who bulk up and then have to cut back down. Michelle Waterson, I think this is only her second time now fighting at 35, 25.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
And they're fighting at 25. This is only Michelle Waterson's second time fighting at 25 after a career at 15. It's coming back to me now. And Amanda Lemos traditionally fights at 15, fighting at 25 here, but has fought at 25 and 35 in the past. She is a big, strong woman. Sorry to steal your thunder. Continue, please. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I find this one pretty hard to pick because obviously, Amanda Lemos lost her last one to Jessica Andrade by that ridiculous standing triangle. Which
you want to talk about strong, crazy frames on women? Andrade.
Yeah, Andrade is the number one pick. But the run that she was on before that, if she had made it through Andrade, she'd have been set up to be the next against Valentina, but she got beat pretty definitively by Jessica. So I don't know, man. I think it's a pretty tough fight to call. I think Michelle Waterson, if all her cardio and stuff is good, and she's not suffering from
cookie withdrawal,
some cookies. I think she probably has the advantage on the feet by like a hair. I think if it goes to the ground, Lemos will probably be able to keep her there, but I can't see her getting into a position where she would be able to finish Michelle. I think it's going to be a very close fight. Why it's the co-main kind of blows my fucking mind, to be honest.
Wait, women are equal, you bigot.
No, absolutely. But women are equal means this fight shouldn't be the co-main.
That's just waters you just navigated. Well done.
Yeah. Regardless, I am actually looking forward to it. I like watching Michelle Waterson's fight. If she can keep it standing, I'll be rooting for her. But I could probably see Lemos taking it by decision.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And here's the thing: Michelle Waterson is okay on the ground. Amanda Lemos is okay on the ground. I don't think either of them are going to choose to fight on the ground. I think they're going to want to stand and bang where they're comfortable. Michelle Waterson having that karate style, active front leg, throws a lot of kicks, but not terribly powerful kicks, and they don't really do a lot to damage or hurt your opponent. Whereas Amanda Lemos has been pretty dominant with her fists up until Angela Hill, which I think she didn't deserve to. She did beat Angie Hill, or maybe she lost Angie Hill, but she didn't look great there. I don't remember off the top of my head, but again, Lemos has looked really good until she hasn't. She fought Angie Hill, didn't look great, and then she got first round standing triangled by Jessica Andrade, which I'm largely going to throw away because the things that won Andrade that fight are not skills that Waterson possesses. I think Lemos is going to get back into kind of that style that she's used to. I'm a little bit concerned about Waterson's gas tank. Like we said, we saw her. And let me just preface this. Michelle Waterson didn't look bad. She looked very good, and she looked very healthy at the weight that she was at around Christmas. She looked comfortable. But for a fighter who fights at 115 and then now 125, it was just staggering to see somebody with that type of body frame. And it does lead to questions about how that's going to translate when she gets back into the octagon and her overall gas tank. I think Amanda Lemos is powerful. She's quicker. She's boxing heavy, but will mix in her kicks. Again, she is decent to above takedown defense if she's against someone who doesn't specialize in takedowns, which Michelle Waterson doesn't. So looking at a 3-round fight here, I would tend to lean to the bigger Amanda Lemos, a little bit more experience fighting at the heavier weight classes. Michelle Waterson hasn't looked great fighting at 25. So with that being said, I am going to lean Lemos probably by decision. I'm going to say decision here, but there is that slight chance she does put her away. So I'm going to go, and Michelle Waterson lost to Marina Rodriguez at 25. Marina Rodriguez going on to do pretty good things. You can forgive that, but I'm still going to side with Lemos here.
Yeah.
On to the main event, the fight that, you were looking forward to, Jack Shore, but the fight that most people are looking forward to, the non-UK citizens are looking forward to, Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. This is going to be a really, really good fight if you're Brian Ortega, in my opinion. If you're Yair Rodriguez, you're not going to be concerned walking into a fight, but if you were being objective, maybe you should be. At the end of the day, Yair Rodriguez is a really, really creative striker. He likes to mix up his punches with his kicks, throw from a variety of different angles. But as he's gotten later in his career, we've seen that KO ability start to diminish. And then we saw Brian Ortega go 5 hard rounds with Volkanovski, someone that let's say this. If Volkanovski was fighting Yair Rodriguez, you're picking Volkanovski 10 times out of 10 times, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Yair Rodriguez has anything that is even close to the skill level of grappling that Volk had to get out of those submissions. So immediate 1, maybe even 2 points to Brian Ortega. And if Brian Ortega can stand and bang and even land some okay shots on Volkanovski on the feet, I'm not coming into this being terribly concerned that Yair Rodriguez is going to be able to put him away, because that's how Yair is going to win. I don't think Yair is going to be able to defend takedowns. And I don't think Yair Rodriguez, outside of the first round, is going to be able to get up super easily if he doesn't manages to avoid being submitted. I just don't see the paths to victory for Yair Rodriguez. I don't see how the judges are going to give it to him when he's under Brian Ortega for the majority of the fight. What do you think?
I completely agree. I think that you raise a really good point about, hypothetically Volk versus Yair. And like I went back and watched the Ortega Volk fight. I don't remember much from seeing it live. I was a little bit inebriated. But man, Brian straight up dropped Volk before he sunk that guillotine.
Something to a knee, didn't he?
No, it was a straight left. Like,
oh, that's right. He caught the leg kick and gave him a straight left to put him down.
right down the pipe. And, it takes a lot of heart. Game recognizes game to survive in that kind of a position that he was in with Brian Ortega. And then the triangle, like a minute and a half later. And,
And the
Yair,
guillotine.
Yair struggled to get off the ground when Max Holloway took him down. So I just can't see how Yair would be able to get out from underneath Brian Ortega. And the thing about Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu that is just so fucking slick is he doesn't take you down into a position that he can't submit you from. Like, he almost never gets takedown into guard. He's always either, like halfway around your back before you even hit the ground, or sliding an arm around your neck for a dart, or else he'll just straight up pull guard and take you to T City. And I got my bandana on. I'm strongly rooting for Brian Ortega. I think Yair's one path to victory is his hand speed and his kick speed are absolutely fucking heinous. But Brian has, yeah, exactly. And Brian's chin is, who's got a better chin at 145 than Brian Ortega?
Max
You can make an argument for Max, but it's an argument, and I don't think that many people would be able to take the beating that Volk gave Ortega and return in under a year. And you look at like the 4 or 5 weeks after 266, and it looks like a slideshow of Wolverine healing whenever you look at Brian Ortega. The guy has some of the slickest jiu-jitsu in the entire UFC. I would pay ridiculous amounts of money to see him grapple Charles Oliveira.
That's a good point. That would be a really, really good fight. I would like to see that a lot. Is Brian Ortega versus Charles Oliveira. That would be very interesting. I probably that would probably go to decision, I'd imagine, because I don't think Ortega is going to be able to put away Oliveira, and vice versa. I don't know if either of them is going to be able to submit the other one. Like, that either going to be a great fight or an awful fight.
My envisionment for that is that neither of them are going to be afraid to go to the ground. The thing is that I know that Brian can drop Charles. Can Charles drop Brian? And Charles.
Come on, dude.
Charles
dropping everybody lately. He put away Gaethje. He put away Chandler. Like, dude, how? I think I give him benefit of the doubt and say he could.
I'm the biggest Charles Oliveira fan. When's the last time we've seen Brian actually dropped? Did Max drop him when they fought? Volk didn't drop him during all of that. I cannot remember the last time that Brian actually got dropped. But I'd probably give Charles the edge on the ground, but it would still be a phenomenal fight. That being said, Brian Ortega, 3rd round submission.
Really? Really?
By mind of guillotine.
I was thinking maybe something late first. I think maybe late first he almost gets it and then follows up and gets it in the second. I mean, Yair being taken down by Max is making me very, very concerned. And that fight was not that long ago. I think it happened in December, right? So we're talking 7-8 months ago.
Yeah.
How much is your grappling going to improve in 7 or 8 months? Against top of the food chain level competition. Brian Ortega is going to eat him for lunch. It's just how soon is going to be able to get to the lunch table. So I'm thinking 1st or 2nd round. If the over unders, I mean, it's not going to be 3.5, but if it is 3.5, I'm taking the under on that.
Yeah, definitely. I just think that Brian might fancy standing with him for a little bit. He
play
might
with his food, Valentina Shevchenko style.
Yeah, I think he might get clipped once or twice and feel the power and think, "Fuck that!
Yep.
I'm taking you to T City."
I don't think it'll feel the power. I think it'll be like, okay, shit, that was quick. I didn't see it. I gotta take you down.
Yeah,
What just hit me?
yeah, exactly. It'll be like, "Oh, that's what we're
third
doing."
arm somewhere. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Brian Ortega by some type of choke. It was my official pick.
All right. Well, you heard it here first from Jamie Frodo MMA, his official predictions. He's going with Miesha Tate. He's going with the Homer and the little bit of the heartfelt pick, Charles Jordan. And we agree on everything else. Sumudaerji, Salikov, Lemos in a snoozer, and Ortega. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us. Or check us out on overtimeheroics.net. When these things are gone, you will see our Twitter handles right there. Make sure you go and give us a follow there. You could tweet us or don't tweet us. Let us know what you're thinking about our picks. And I've been on a roll, so hopefully we keep it up. And you don't have anything negative to tweet at us. But other than that, Jamie, is there anything you want to say to the fine folks before we head out?
I don't think so, man. Other than enjoy the fights this week, and I cannot wait to be on the grind for UFC London next week.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to get a bunch of good content from you and catch up with you before the fights. Get your pre-fight read and see if there's any bonus content we can get from inside that arena if you haven't downed a few loggers.
Whenever Paul Craig wraps that triangle up around Volkan, there will be a Tui.
Oh yeah, yeah, sounds good. All right, everybody, take it easy.
Peace.